to the next level.
Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Coach Tiffany Parra, Editor-in-Chief of Phoenix Fitness Fanatics Magazine, elevating your mind, body, and spirit. Today is we have Mental Monday. You just saw us a little while ago with some of our contributing writers, but this here is a special segment about Marketing 101. And we all want to make sure that we know how to show up and shine. And this contributing writer can truly share with us how to do so. So let me go ahead and bring her on in. We are talking about storytelling as strategy, y'all. So let me bring her on in. Hey, what's going on?
Peace, everyone. Hi, Tiffany.
I am so excited to have you on the show. Peace, Empress. Oh my goodness. I am so excited for this particular just category that we're going to be talking about today. This subject is so important, so important. Marketing and how we show up and just storytelling as a strategy. This is such an interesting subject for us because your story is everything, right? And, I always share, as an author, get it out there. Your story is not your story. It impacts others, things like that with your message. But really and truly, your story, you can really rise to the occasion in your business in standing on your story correctly. I'm going to go ahead and let Empress go ahead and introduce herself, who she is, where she's from, a little bit about what she does. And then we're going to go ahead and get deep into storytelling as strategy. I'm going to share a little bit about how I do it as well. So Empress, please introduce yourself.
Yeah. Okay. Hello, everyone. I am Empress Ayana, and I am a lifestyle elevation specialist for my business, Onyx Restorative Justice. And through my business, I support Black women entrepreneurs through marketing strategy, brand development, as well as streamlining your processes to make sure that they work efficiently and that you can work smarter, not harder. So that's what I do. I also curate safe spaces for Black women, such as the Black Women's Entrepreneurial Collective, which is our business hub of Onyx Restorative Justice. And I also facilitate workshops on strengthening your emotional intelligence, having healthy boundaries, as well as developing self-advocacy skills, which is something that Black women need more of. We need to take up more space and be okay. Well, lots of people need that. And I think women especially need that. And on top of that, Black women especially need that, right? So that's what I do. I help for Black women to take up more space. I'm a visionary and I love what I do.
Yes, and I love your energy. I love taking the stage with you. And y'all, we are taking center stage on the Own It magazine and publishing platform today. I did not say that before we started, but again, I am just so excited. Empress Ayana is also one of our contributing writers, so you can see her monthly in Phoenix Fitness Fanatics magazine. Definitely get your subscription. It is $35 for a lifetime. So if you want that, go to Phoenix Fitness Fanatics mag2021.com and get your subscription so you can get these valuable nuggets that are going to help you to seriously show up and shine. So storytelling as a strategy, again, just we know that we spoke backstage about, our stories. We have our personal story. We have our brand story. I know for me, it's Phoenix Fitness Fanatics. I am the Phoenix, and just a little bit of my story, you guys. I actually was told I was going to die if I didn't make some changes in my health. I was at the worst in my health. I was at the heaviest I had ever been, blood pressure through the roof. And, I was depressed. I really didn't know I was depressed because I was caught in that hamster wheel of life. And a lot of you out there listening probably know about being in that hamster wheel of life, feeling that heaviness, on you. And it felt like, ashes. So I released a lot of weight, physically, mentally, spiritually, as well as financially, because I had to get people out of my pocket as well. And was able to just come out of that. And when I share my story with Phoenix Fitness Fanatics, it's coming out of the ashes of life and being able to soar in that light in and rise above all that comes your way. So that is when I share my story, I share, coming out of that depth. I share about, what was that mental stuff that I was going through and the ways that I was able to overcome the situation. So Empress, let's talk a little bit about that. Give us your perspective on, that personal story versus that brand story and kind of how, people can really bridge the gap there.
Yeah, well, Tiffany, so this question just makes me think about my own story, right? And how I had a real kind of hellish childhood. And, I was in foster homes, I was in youth shelters, just a part of the system growing up, right?
Yeah.
And that plays a major role, like overcoming so much of that childhood trauma plays a major role in how I even approach my business and my own brand story, right? It's why Onyx Restorative Justice has a very holistic and empowerment, foundation to it, and why I approach my business the way that I do. So your brand story can be you, right? It can be who you are, and it can be about what you do, or separately about what you do. Because the truth of the matter is, what you do a lot of times is a big part of who you are. If you work in finance, right, a big part of who you are would be someone that cares about, savings, growing your money, things like that, right? Being somewhat savvy as it relates to your money. So when it comes to having your brand story, which is like more on a personal side, and your brand story that's more so on a business side, a lot of times they are, they're interconnected, right? Most times, unless you're not showing up authentically or whatever it may be, that's the only time a lot of times that there would be some type of separation or some type of disconnect rather between the stories. But we had talked earlier before coming on here about how, for example, your story as it relates to how you do your anthologies, right? We know with the anthologies that you have put together people's stories. And, we know that the success of that is because people love stories. People love, because we learn from each other through our stories. For me, the way that I show up, the way that I do things is I'm very direct, right? I'm very authentic. I'm very raw. I'm very direct. So when I'm doing that, when I'm showing up that way, that is also giving other people permission, other Black women permission to take up space and to own their story, right? To utilize it to not just grow themselves, but to help to grow others. Our stories are very powerful as it relates to how we approach business, because it really does play a major role in how people see us, how people view us. And what we need to be okay with is people hating or loving our story, right? And just embracing it because it is truly and authentically who you are. And that's all that matters, right? That's all that matters, is how you're showing up and how that affects the people who are engaging with your story, whether it's positive or negative. To me, I love all. I'm like, give me all the energy, baby. I don't give a darn. Okay. I'm not afraid of anything because I've owned my story. As a matter of fact, I wish would. Okay. So because see, to me, I'm just so excited about myself, powered by my own story, that when I've overcome so much that it's like what is it you can do? So ownership and authenticity of your story is
Everything.
everything. It really
Yeah.
is saving life.
Yeah.
Your story could be saving a life. So take it very seriously.
Absolutely. And I think sometimes people are so scared, though, to share their story and to get too deep because, one, I know it's a healing process for them, right? I know every time I've shared a piece of my story, it has come out. It was so much emotion, I mean, the crocodile tears and just, and but it's needed. You have to get over that and be able to get that out so you can be authentic. But how does one get comfortable with being able to do that? That's the question I think here is
Mhm.
how do you get to that level of comfort so you can show up authentic and real?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you're absolutely right as it relates to it being a healing process that kind of has to happen because, to have that ownership, you do have to have a level of healing has to
Mhm.
have taken place for you to feel comfortable and authentic. And I think, when it comes down to it, I think it's just about trying to figure out where those feelings are coming from. If you feel nervous or like, you're going too deep or you're doing too much or whatever it may be, I think you really have to figure out where that's coming from. A lot of
Mhm.
times, and that's the thing about telling your story. It gives you an opportunity to dismantle the ideas that don't serve you, right? That did not
Mhm.
come from you. So I
Mhm.
think you have to take the time to kind of do that. Is what you're doing or what you feel about yourself that's kind of holding you back from wanting to tell your story, is that from you or is that from what other people think, what you believe other people think about you and your story, right?
Mhm.
So you
Right.
have to really deal with the imposter syndrome that might be kind of showing up, making you feel like, what you need to talk about is not valid. And that's
Mhm.
the thing. I think owning your story and knowing that it's valid. It's valid. And
Mhm.
also, I think it's very layered. Because obviously my target audience is Black women, right? So
Mhm.
when it comes to that, so I talk to Black women also about the societal norms that we kind of
Mhm.
have, right? We live in a society that was created by white males. So as it relates to that, a lot of how we might think we need to engage or share or whatever it may be might be in alignment with how males show up, right? So
Mhm.
you don't
Mhm.
get too deep, you don't talk too much. It's not good for business. It's not good, So that's the thing. Also dismantling societal ideas about who we are and how we should show up, right?
Mhm.
Because
Mhm.
as Black women, one of the things that I talk to Black women about is the amazingness, like how amazing we are, and being at the core and the center of all beings, right? So when it comes to that, I think that no matter where you stand in this world, it does. I mean, obviously, there are the obvious things about therapy and, things like that, right? But I think
Mhm. Mhm.
ultimately, at least for me,
Yeah.
the best therapy really came from my ownership of, myself and my
Yeah.
story, and really beginning to dismantle some of these ideas of how I grew up, right? Like women being quiet. I mean, this is a very exciting time for women, right? There's a lot of kind of conversation happening right now as it relates to where we've come from and where we're going, right? So
Mhm.
that's
Mhm.
really setting a lot of the tone for a lot of women right now as it relates to how we tell our stories, and knowing that there is validity in them, and having more space, taking up more space in order to share those stories. So I really think it's really just about having an understanding about what you think. Is it coming from you, or is it about other people's ideas about who you are and what your story means? You got your pooch in the background.
Yeah, I had to mute it for a second
Yeah.
there. Sorry about that. He wanted to chime in on that. So
He's like, I got something to say. Okay, I got a story.
and he does. Like
I
living
love
with me anyway.
it. Right.
So what are some of the things that we need to avoid as we are, sharing, doing our storytelling and really being strategic, because I know there's things that we could overshare possibly, or, where it could turn someone off of our brand. So what are some of the things that we could avoid so we can really keep people, engaged with us and, not turned off from the things that we're putting out there?
Yeah, I believe that some of the things that we could do um, is avoid overcomplicating and overthinking things. Just kind of allow for your story to flow from you. And not only that, right? Like knowing your audience. What does your audience like? What gets the most engagement as it relates to your storytelling, right? So, for example, like for me, right? When it comes to when I'm telling my story, when I'm engaging Black women, I might talk about childhood sexual trauma. I might talk about things that I know that a lot of us have dealt with, right? I know that's not too deep for my audience, right? However, there could be some people that it turns off because maybe they're not there in their healing process. Maybe they just don't like my approach. So I think part of it is also just owning it, not owning your story, not owning how you show up authentically every day and being okay with that. So I think overcomplicating it and allowing, for it to just kind of flow from you, owning your story is definitely something that a lot of us are very afraid to do. But on the other side of that, there's somebody that could relate to something that you've been through or whatever it may be, right? So you don't really have to overcomplicate and overthink these things. Just know you are not alone, period,
Right.
at the end of the
Right.
day, right?
Right.
And I think, not being authentic, that
Mhm.
is major. A lot of people don't show up, authentically. They say what they think they want, that people want to hear. And
Mhm.
I think you have to be okay with turning people off. That's a part of the story. Like it just is what it is. You will never get everybody. Everybody's not going to love you, but just understanding that all energy matters. You take that
Right.
energy, transmute it. And so, not being too hard on yourself, giving yourself grace, taking
Mm.
time to kind of stop and make your way through it. Your storytelling and your brand identity and creating that. Yeah, and revisiting it again, right? Not thinking that
Right.
this is the end all be all. I think a lot of people, they stay with one story and the story doesn't evolve sometimes, right? And I think
Mhm.
always going back and revisiting your story and allowing your story to evolve, not staying stagnant, right? So those
Right.
are some of the things that I think that, we have to be aware of as we are considering approaching, our approach with our using your storytelling as strategy.
And I love just that emotional connection. I think is what everybody needs,
Yes.
right? Really being able to tap into, again, you said like energy is going to attract energy. Like I know my energy is not for everyone. They're like, oh God, here she come again, and she's so happy go lucky, this and that. I don't, but I'm not for everybody. Just like
Yeah.
you said, you're not for everybody, right?
Mhm.
So we do attract the energy that we need to attract. We talked about being consistent
Mhm.
backstage. So for those out there that are really like trying to figure out that consistency, can you give them some tips on maybe just kind of how to show up a little more consistent and what it looks like to show up consistent out there for your brand?
Yeah, absolutely. So as it relates to the consistency of your brand and the way that you show up, I would say that that consistency comes into how often you might be posting, right? Like how often you might be posting. It might have something to do with making sure in terms of like the order,
Mhm.
right? So the consistency as it relates to the order would look like your what, when, why, how, of how you even came to be where you are. So, keeping keeping that story going, right? So you share a little bit at a time about your story. That can help to, create some consistency in your storytelling. And that's just, more so online. But even if you are doing in-person events and things like that, right? You just want to make sure that whatever your story is that you're telling, you are being consistent with how you're telling that story, right? You could even start off in different places in the story, but it has to make sense. No matter what you do, it has to make sense, right? So consistency in the way that you show up. So creating your content, right? Figuring out which stories you want to tell and how you want to tell them, because a good story, one good story, that could last you a while, right? That could last you maybe like 30 days worth of content just by you saying, hey, I'm on a weight loss journey, right? That's your story. Right. The story is the weight loss journey. So to maintain consistency, you want to make sure what particular aspects of that weight loss journey do you want to cover, right? And so be consistent with it in that way. So I would say, making sure that you have your content in order, as well as being clear about what part of your story that you want to tell, that showing up, right? Just showing up no matter how you feel. I would say consistency could also look like how often you go live, right? And you're talking to your audience and things like that, like how you go live very frequently, right? We know that that is something to expect from your brand. You're going to talk to us. You're going to bring other people together. You have a very collaborative, and partnership related foundation, right? So that is something that we've come to understand is a part of your brand identity, because you have been showing up consistently talking about health and wellness, getting on your lives, making sure that you're hosting and facilitating the spaces for people to come and be a part of what you have going on. So there's a multitude of different ways that, we can show up consistently as it relates to our storytelling as strategy. Hey, listen, it could even be boundaries, right? It could be setting boundaries. I'm really big on boundary setting. It could be at this time on this day, don't you talk to me. I'm not taking any calls. This is my day to write my story. This is my time to journal. This is my time to start preparing my content for the following month, right? So there's a multitude of different ways at, different stages, different levels that you can maintain consistency.
I love that. And consistency is key, everybody. You got to show up. If you are building a business, especially in this climate. I mean, we have no excuse. We have technology, which is amazing. We've got some AI tools out there that, really give us no excuse. So we definitely got to stay consistent. So Empress Ayana, before we close, are there any final thoughts, anything else that you would like to share with our audience? Also, let them know if there's anything coming up that you have that you would like for them to, get involved with, or, also the BWEC, how they can connect, and then how they can connect with you.
Yes, absolutely. So I have a few things kind of going on, right? I'm in kind of like a transition period with my business a little bit because, okay. So I have the BWEC, which is the Black Women's Entrepreneurial Collective. But as a part of the BWEC, we are creating some other things, right? For example, we have the BWEC Marketplace. And this is a space, even though my target audience is Black women, I wanted to create a space that was open to everyone, because even though my target audience is Black women, that doesn't mean that's what my target audience, their target audience could be a multitude of different types of people from different backgrounds. So I said, you know what? I would love to create a space where, we could all come together. We could learn from each other. So we have the BWEC University in there that we're building out. We are doing some really, really amazing things in the BWEC. So right now we even changed our approach to how people can connect with the marketplace and things like that. So we are really enhancing so much about the business. So when it comes to the BWEC marketplace, that is something that we would love for people to schedule a demo with us. It does not matter your background. It does not matter who you are. If you support Black women entrepreneurs, this is a perfect space for you. And if you are interested in learning from Black women entrepreneurs in the BWEC University, this is also a perfect space. So you can't get in the BWEC, but you can still have access to us. You can still enjoy, the energy and space that we, are creating over there in the BWEC and the marketplace. So this is a space for everyone. So yes, we are asking for folks to schedule demos with us. You must have 2 or more people in order to schedule a demo, because who got time for that? Anyways, so we have that going on. What else do we have going on over there? And also, I would love for people, no matter what your background is, for you to schedule with me and sit down, because one of the other things that I've been working on is my pitch deck. Okay. So when you schedule with me now, I have a whole presentation, so that people can understand how you can get involved with Onyx Restorative Justice, whether you want to work with me for marketing, whether you want to be a part of the BWEC, or whether you want to know what we have going on and how we're going into the future. So we have some really amazing things that we're working on in the tech area as well. So we have our communities. No. Done for you communities is what it's called. So we are helping Black women, business owners, especially women, but from any background, really, create their own communities for, you to be able to engage your network, your people grow, and all that, right? And so it's done for you in the sense that now in my business, I'm making sure that admin and marketing is pretty much a part of everything that we do. So even if we had a Black woman entrepreneur, or a provider rather, in the BWEC marketplace that wanted to put a course up inside of the marketplace in our BWEC University, we pretty much do everything for you. We handle your automations, we handle the admin, we handle a multitude of different things, and your marketing, right? So that's what we have going on. Those are things that we're working on currently in Onyx Restorative Justice and the BWEC. So we have a space for everybody now, in my business, and that's really exciting for me. And it's exciting for my target audience, right? And for folks who are like, I've had people like, oh my God, can I please, like white women and white men, they want to get into the BWEC so bad, girl. And so I'm like, no, you cannot. But I wanted to create a space that was safe for us all to be able to engage and enjoy each other. So this is what I've created. So yeah, everybody, schedule with me. I would love to meet with you all and show you what we have going on and get you, plugged into something that one of the things that we're doing. Yay. Oh, maybe I should tell them how to reach you.
Yes, I was about to say, how can they get in touch with you?
Okay, so you're going to reach me. I have my website. That's onyxrestorative.blogspot.com. And I would love to get more people to comment. I would love to get people to actually follow my content and things like that on the blog. So yeah, if you want to know about everything that we have going on, or you just want to schedule with me so you can learn about everything that we have going on, that's www.onyxrestorativjustice.blogspot.com. So what else? I think that's it. Oh, and you can obviously find me, on Google. If you want to see my 5-star reviews, you can go to Facebook under Onyx Restorative Justice, or you can also go to Google. You can look me up on Google under Onyx Restorative Justice, and you can see the reviews and why you need to work with your girl. Okay. So yes, that's how you reach me. And, obviously I have email, and you can also DM me, right? On my regular page, Empress Ayana Nadira. So you could DM me there, like, hey, Empress girl. And I'll be like, hey, and then we could talk, So I'm very, laid back, fun, but kind of a little bit intense, just a little bit. Yeah, that's how you can reach me.
So I just absolutely love, love, love your energy, Empress Ayana. You're amazing. So everyone, look, those that have been watching, because I know I've been watching our numbers go up and down. Hopefully you have had your pens and paper and you've been taking notes. If not, go back, watch the replay, learn a little more about how storytelling can be used as a strategy to build your brand and what the difference between your personal story and that brand story are. So connect with Empress Ayana. Definitely keep in touch with her in Phoenix Fitness Fanatics magazine as well. Her this month it is about storytelling as your strategy. So definitely go in there, read the article, and again, tap in with your girl here because she can really help you to elevate your business. Again, thank you so much, Empress Ayana. Thank you all for joining us on this Marketing 101, and we will definitely see you next time. Take care, everybody.
Thank you. Take care.